All right, it's another day, and it's time to keep rolling with going through a little bit of lubrication and maintenance and care, and I'm jumping over here to the other side of the manual, and it's too small for you to read, but we're past the generator bearings, which we already did, and we're to the heavy-duty air cleaner. Wash the element and reservoir, renew the oil in the reservoir, don't oil the element. And they're saying doing it every 5,000 miles with 50 weight oil. So I will confess that I've never seen or worked on a oil reservoir style air cleaner. So I had to do a little bit of research on these. They are heavy duty. They do still use oil reservoir air cleaners, but they only use them nowadays perhaps on a very industrial, very large scale motors, usually farm equipment that operate in ridiculously dusty conditions. And the concept is that it's gonna bring air down through here, rapidly change direction, and come up again and past that oil inside the reservoir, and dust and particles can't make a fast change in direction like air can, and they wind up sticking to the oil, which is why it's considered heavy duty and very, very good for dusty applications. Interesting enough, it was a add-on optional piece of equipment as to have a heavy-duty oil cleaner on a lot of cars and built around that time, because people considered a oil bath type reservoir to be a superior, more heavy-duty reservoir than a paper element one. But I gotta admit, so I've kind of reconstructed what we have here, and the whole thing's kind of a comedy the way it was starting here. So to begin with, you go up here and you take off that screw right there, and it's a very long threaded rod. It goes all the way down. And I had noticed that I didn't really think it was fitting on the carburetor very well either. Right around here. It'll show it better when I take it off. That's supposed to be sitting down deeper on the carburetor. I'll try to do this all one-handed so you can see a little bit of what's going on. Oh boy. Alright, we got that kind of off here, so I've got it lifted off, and I'll show you what I was running into. Well, on this guy as it stands, I think it's been repainted black. It's probably a little rusty. That may be a kind of gasket material right there. It's been pretty old, pretty nasty. There's some kind of a, I don't know if you can hear the audio there. There's definitely some parts rolling around inside here that I'm not gonna, I'll have to shake these out and get them going. And then this guy here, I think has been mangled. I do believe that this piece of metal here is supposed to actually be bent out this way, and that this, if I was to loosen this, is purely a clamp just to tighten all this all the way around. And someone's got a little frustrated with the way this air cleaner goes onto the carburetor and just kind of smashed it down and moved on, so I'll have to get that fixed. Nothing much there. What confused me also was I did not understand how this was held on here originally. I mean, off camera here, I was playing around with this for quite a while, and I was getting a little bit frustrated trying to figure out how I'm going to take this apart to clean it. I get this part. That's just a large gauge steel wool packing material with some really nasty old oil underneath it, and I believe gone, but down deep inside there, probably up along that lip right there, was supposed to be a gasket, and that's probably long disappeared as well. That's from the owner's manual. That's where I've gotten that mention specifically to return a gasket, so I don't think it's necessarily been sealing that well. But I'll have to wash this, clean it out. Manual says don't use flammable, kerosene or flammable compounds, but maybe some brake cleaner or something that kind of volatilizes away. It's probably fairly dirty through there. They can get so junked up that they don't actually suck air well. I've seen a few other videos of people cleaning those out, and all of a sudden motors that would not run before all of a sudden start going again. This guy was confusing me as well, because I wanted to get this off. It was kind of laying there loose and rolling around, and I kept feeling underneath here trying to figure out how the heck this thing goes on. And I got a little frustrated there, but I didn't want to push too hard, and then I got to feeling around right here. The grease under there, that blob right there is a finger full of grease that I pulled out from down inside there, and obligatory dead insect. Who knows how long that's been there. But it just didn't make any sense how this was on, and then finally I just moved around enough and it slides off. So that didn't show up very well on camera very well, but you can see the that bracket there, which looks like it weighs about 4 pounds. Hold your air cleaner on there. Bolted appears to the underside of the intake manifold here. I will not be taking that bracket off there. I am not even going to risk flexing, braking, doing anything with the intake and exhaust manifolds on this if I can all avoid it. Hopefully I don't have to. And then I'll have to get around to the business of completely cleaning this thing out and trying to get it back. On the underside here, this guy right there actually kind of lifts up and down. It's got a little bit of a slot there, and that's actually what slides right there into that little slot right there. And when you screw that long threaded rod right down there into that cup, it lifts up on the entire cup. Those are threads down in there, and that cinches it up tight and keeps it from moving around. Creates a little bit of a bite on that. Alright, and then we'll have to get to go looking over this carburetor here in a little bit too. They had a couple of carburetor models there that they would put on these, Carter carburetor and a Stromberg carburetor. I'm going to have to look at this over here. I can't, there's some writing on there on the front. I'll have to get a little closer on that to figure out which one I have. They didn't consider them actually different carburetors. They just, I did some research on there, and apparently getting carburetors in decent supply was a little bit of a production issue. So perhaps from previous years. So going forward in 1950, they made sure they had carburetors from a couple different manufacturers, and the manuals gave information on working on either one of them, but they did not consider one to be an upgrade to the other or part of the ordering for the car. It just either came with a Stromberg or a carburetor. But anyway, back to the cleanup on this guy. So we'll get that cleaned up, get the element cleaned out, and get some 50 weight oil in there, and it'll be ready to go. Although I probably won't fill that reservoir until I'm ready to actually put this carburetor, or I should say air cleaner housing back on there. Something tells me I've got some more work to do on that carburetor there before I can just button everything up here. Alright, I got to looking around the front of it there, and I just have to kind of finish it out. I don't know if the lighting here is going to allow you to see that very good, but right there it says Stromberg. that fancy cursor there says Aero type. So it's a Stromberg Aero type carburetor. And I'm not going to be able to zoom in on that for you guys, but it says Elmira, New York, USA. Yeah. So we definitely have a Stromberg mystery salt.